Start off with a shout out to Tracy Fuchs and women's field hockey with another Big Ten championship. Awesome accomplishment for that group. Excited for them to start their NCAA tournament play, and wishing them the best of luck. The Cats in athletics continue to do a lot of great things. It's awesome to see, and awesome to see the community that's built around this athletic department. Disappointed with our loss out at SC. We had opportunities to capture some momentum there in the first half. We were still in a position to be within striking distance late into the third quarter, even in early into the fourth quarter, down 11 points, and ultimately we didn't get the job done. I have to do a better job coaching this team. We need to do a better job of performing on game day, and really excited to bounce back and get back to our winning ways. Excited to be back at home, and excited to celebrate a trailblazer in college football in George Jewett this weekend, competing for the George Jewett Trophy against Michigan. Michigan's a really good football team, 7-2. Coach Moore has done a great job. They're running the football at a really high level. Young, very talented quarterback that has started to settle in and is playing at a really high level. And when things do break down for him, extremely scary. When he starts to utilize his legs and take off with the football. The job that they've done at Michigan over the years, and specifically the last two on defense, is a really impressive unit overall. Really balanced football team, really well coached in all three phases, and a great challenge for us as a program, getting back at home, and the challenge of facing a really good Big Ten opponent.
Yeah, Gavin.
Coach, the Big Ten released a statement saying that USC should have been flagged for a 15-yard penalty the second time number 80 entered the game. I was just curious if you had a reaction to that.
Yeah, ultimately, yes, they're by the rule book. There could be a flag on that second punt. Ultimately, I don't put that on the officials. Like, I don't know how the officials are supposed to know which 80's in the game. Hey, which Sam is under that helmet? Ultimately, I don't put this on the officials. I put this on me. Opportunity to evaluate. It's my job to put our guys in the best situation to go perform and execute on game day. In the situation that we experienced Friday night, I didn't put our guys in that position. Ultimately, we will totally change how we go through our pre-game roster review based on all the information that we collected, and do everything in our power to make sure that something like that doesn't happen again.
Okay.
Coach, how does just the way this program is historically fared at Wrigley Field provide a motivation for you guys moving into this weekend?
Yeah, first off, so thankful to the Cubs for the opportunity to play a home game at Wrigley Field. But secondly, I think it's the message, and the truth is, we've been pretty good at home this year, and we're playing at home. I mean, that's the reality. We say we're Chicago's Big Ten team. We're playing in Chicago, playing at the friendly confines. We're playing at home, and that's the way that we have to view this. This is an opportunity to come back home in the Big Ten and be at our best.
Dave?
Last year you addressed the sideline issue at Wrigley. Now you've played 3 games there in 2 years. Do you feel like you kind of have a better handle on some of the logistics that playing there present, and are there going to be anything different this year?
Yeah, ultimately, I think the Cubs have just done a really good job of positioning us. As the evolution has moved forward. Iowa back in '23 was pretty unique, being on the same sideline. But honestly, the setup last year, I think, unless you are really paying attention, you don't feel like it's any different. I mean, the sideline has slid down a little bit. It's a little off center, but ultimately I think it positions both teams and both staffs to operate at an optimal level, and that's a credit to everyone involved on getting that done.
Matt?
PFF isn't always perfect, so maybe the internal numbers look a little different, but they've charted 17 missed tackles against Nebraska and then 17 again versus USC. How does that get addressed before playing a team that can run the way Michigan can?
Yeah, I mean, if we want to play winning football on defense, it starts with tackling well and playing with good leverage. We did not tackle well against Nebraska. USC can challenge you in a lot of ways in terms of the way that they operate as an offense, the athletes that they have, the space that they try and attack, and there's no one in this facility, starting with myself, Coach McGargle, everyone on our defense that thought our overall performance Friday night was up to the standard. And to your point, Matt, it's something that we have to tackle better. I know we emphasize it in practice. We're not taking our foot off the gas in terms of the way that we approach it, but Michigan will certainly challenge that. We're going to have to play better on Saturday.
Yeah, Sponge.
Coach, return of Migo Jackson this past Saturday. Firstly, what did it mean to have him back? And secondly, what type of role do you see him playing for the remainder of this season?
Yeah, his practice and performance will dictate how many opportunities he gets. But what Migo has done and earned is the fact that coming off a long-term recovery from the injury preseason, positioned himself to be someone that's trusted by his teammates, trusted by this staff to put him in the game once he was back to full health against USC. And I think as he gets more reps in game, more reps in practice, he's someone that definitely can be a huge contributing member of that D-line in a rotational piece. And you could tell he was knocking a little bit of rust off, but excited to have him back.
Paul.
Just want to get your first take impressions on three guys on your opponent, kind of next level potential. Derek Moore, number 8.
Yeah.
Rod Moore, number 9.
Yeah.
And Jayshon Barham, number 1.
Yeah. They're problems. I mean, really good players. Number 1 specifically, I mean, just twitchy and active, high motor. All 3 present problems. At the end of the day, guys that our staff's really aware of, and you got to find this happy balance with guys like that between being aware and understanding, like, positioning your team for success, but you can also fall into a trap of over game planning for guys like that, and then not being in rhythm as an offense, not being maybe as sound as you want to be, and ultimately, like, there's a lot of good football players on that Michigan team that can be really disruptive, but those 3 specifically, high-end Big Ten football players that have bright futures ahead of them.
Gavin.
Coach, you mentioned earlier the freshman quarterback at Michigan, Bryce Underwood. A lot of times with these younger, less experienced guys, the best way to get under their skin is to constantly put pressure on them. But you mentioned also how talented he is with his legs. How do you kind of balance the need to rush him into certain throws, but also staying true to where you guys are as a defense?
Yeah, no, it is a tightrope that you have to walk. I mean, ultimately, Purdue early in the game brings a great pressure in a third down situation. Edge blitzer kind of ducks underneath the block. Bryce gets just a little glimmer of space to take the edge and takes off with his feet. And those are the things that frustrate you as a defensive play caller. You feel like you put your team in a really good situation, and ultimately a slight level of execution within your role within the defense isn't delivered upon, and an athlete like Bryce takes off and really makes you pay for it. So it's finding that balance. I mean, there's a prime example even going back to our game against USC where I think Tim dials up the perfect timing with the pressure. USC's quarterback feels it. Our edge piece gets kind of buried in the tackle. He takes off, extends the play, and makes a completion in man coverage that's going to get completed when he has that much time against that type of pressure. When you're dealing with these types of quarterbacks, these types of athletes, you can't become passive. You have to find ways to apply pressure, but you better understand your leverage and your responsibility within the call, because you give these guys any room to avoid that, it can become really scary with them either extending the play to make a throw or taking off with their feet.
Ted.
Coach, probably 99% of the college players, when they start as a freshman and get a lot of playing time, you can see some growth.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about this quarterback who obviously is now, well into his freshman year. Have you seen kind of some dips, or have you seen just kind of a constant projection of going towards excellence?
Yeah, I think like with any growth out of a young player, it's never perfectly linear. Like I'm sure there's moments in the Purdue game where he wished he had a few plays back, but I think the thing that's consistent is you start to see a guy that's feeling more and more comfortable within the offense. You can see a staff that's more and more comfortable with him operating the offense, and understanding what they have in him, what his strengths are, maybe some things where he has some needed growth. But at the end of the day, like he's extremely talented, poised, competitive, and has made progress throughout the entire season. And what a great challenge for us. We got to find a way to get him out of rhythm, get him uncomfortable, and do our best to really force him to. He can throw from the pocket. He can do it all. But ultimately, like if he's able to get out of the pocket and extend plays, that's where he really becomes, a scary threat, because he can take off with his feet. He can find an open wide receiver downfield. We're gonna have to do a great job of understanding how we work together to keep him in the pocket.
Plus, with his size, it's good to have more than one guy around him, kind of populate him as best you can.
And no doubt about it. I mean, he is not only can he take off, not only is he got great change of direction, acceleration, and top end speed, but really difficult to bring him down with one person.
Charlie.
Coach, another successful week running the football. How do you think bringing in Ryan Olson has continued to pay dividends for your team?
It's been awesome. And again, I come back to we can't get into the specifics of this, but had a young man on campus this weekend, an O-line recruit, and you talk about being a developmental program. You talk about how we prioritize O-line, but when you have two O-line coaches at the caliber of both, Bill O'Boyle and Ryan Olson in the same building, working collaboratively to pour into that group, it's not something we're just talking about. We're investing in that with the right people, and it's showing up on the field. And again, I think the two of them do such a great job of working together, and the balance of that allows Ole to really focus his part of the week early in the week in terms of the game plan, where Bill's focusing on continuing to develop guys and reviewing some of the film. Like that collaboration has been something that we're really excited about to see it continue to blossom. And coming back to Friday night, I think part of the frustration around some of the momentum that was possible there in the first half is ultimately if we're going into half with a tie ball game or up one score, you're able to really lean into your rhythm of who you are as an offense. You start to get down 2 scores against a team like USC. Maybe you're out of that rhythm a little bit, but that rhythm when we're at our best on offense is a direct credit to our offensive line, our tight ends, and the coaching that's behind those guys.
Anna.
Coach, you've been doing a swinging gate thing on extra points, and you get USC to jump off sides on one of them, but you decline the penalties. What sort of factors went into that decision?
Yeah, we definitely didn't expect them to jump off sides in that scenario as much as we've shown it. That was surprising. It's funny in my work with our senior analyst Jeff Kopp. We talk about these types of scenarios and review them every week on Monday evenings. This one specifically came up, I think, in the Old Dominion Appalachian State game a couple weeks ago, and Jeff and I talked about it. And what it really came down to, like situationally, where the score was at. Ultimately, we were in a position, I believe, to tie the game up 14-14, and at that point, we just felt like the risk reward of moving it to the yard and a half line and going for 2, it was best to tie the ball game up. But good question.
Jake.
Coach, how do you assess just the way that your running backs fared, given that you had availability issues this past Friday, and do you have injury updates on Joe Hyman and Deshaun Reeder?
Yeah, we were really optimistic that both Deshaun and Joe were going to be able to go this week, and ultimately neither were able to. That continues. Very, very optimistic for both Joe and Deshaun here as we approach Michigan. We'll know more as we get through. I mean, Joe practiced last week for stretches, as did Deshaun. So really optimistic for their return. But I do think what we saw on Friday night was Caleb Komolafe is like truly turned himself into an every down back in the Big Ten that can handle a larger workload that he's had in the past, and that's awesome to see. And then the emergence of Robbie Preckle. You can still see some young guy things, and Robbie has been utilized in a lot of different ways, has been valuable on special teams, but that guy prepares as well as any young guy I've ever been around, and was not starstruck by a big venue or playing in the Big Ten. He's ready to go. Excited about his future in that room.
Matt.
Michigan's more, in the last two teams you've played, I mean, Nebraska ran it a lot, but also they have a better passing game. Obviously, USC is very pass heavy. Since Giannis Karlaftis went down, you haven't really played a third Sam linebacker. Is that a consideration this week against Michigan?
It's always a consideration with a team that is going to lean into 12 and 13 personnel. Ultimately, I think good coaching also is evaluating as much as on a board or on paper you want a true Sam linebacker against 12 and 13. You're also asking yourself, who's the best 11 to put out on the field, and making sure that those calls are controlled to put those guys in advantageous situations. I give Braden Turner a lot of credit. Some of the things that we were asking him to do against Nebraska, his body type maybe isn't, typically, seen as suited for that, and he's playing a physical brand of football and holding up in there.
Gavin.
We saw a lot more screen passes in the offense against USC. I was curious, was that more of a reflection of the turnovers that came the week before against Nebraska, or was that just something involved with kind of the matchup against the Trojans?
I think anytime you're facing a defensive line that's very talented, especially as a pass rushing group, very aggressive, plays with wider alignments, any good offensive staff or offensive line coach is going to ask, what are some things that we can do to try and slow that down a little bit? All the line coaches I've been around my entire career are going to ask that type of question. I think it's more a reflection of just a certain level of respect for USC's personnel up front and their pass rush ability, and finding ways to ultimately slow that down. And some of the stuff on the perimeter in terms of RPO, more just box structure and what space is available. I thought our wide receivers, especially in the first half, did a good job with their perimeter blocking, and there's nothing flashy, but Drew Wagner picking up 5, 6, 7 yards out on the perimeter when it's a loaded box was certainly part of the plan.
Matt.
Coach, you're now through 9 games. That's 3/4 of the regular season. You're at 5-4, ranked opponent this week, then Minnesota, then at Illinois. What's your evaluation of your team to this point? What does a successful 3-game stretch look like?
Yeah, successful 3-game stretch starts with a win this week, but this team truly believes that we can beat anyone that we play. I think the thing that we have to guard against, Matt, is it's really easy to live in the frustrations of could this team be 7-2 right now? We could, but we're not. We're 5-4. It's a great opportunity for us to get back home, get back into our winning ways, and ultimately secure a spot in the postseason this week. So what a great opportunity for our guys. One of our goals as a program is to win our trophy games, to win our rivalry games. We're playing for the George Jewett Trophy. That's something we want to take a great deal of pride in terms of that trophy being in our facility here in Evanston. There's a lot to play for this week, and we'll judge it at the end of the season in terms of how that fares. But the expectation around here, Matt, is to win all 3.
2 more. Paul.
Second time big noon kickoff. Did you feel there was some extra juice with the Oregon game? You had that, and you anticipate some extra juice at a different venue this time for it?
Yeah, I don't know if there was extra juice. With Oregon coming in, that was just a great opportunity playing at home against a great opponent. We're playing at home against another great opponent. But what I will say is that crew does such a great job. All the crews that we have, we had Jason Benetti and RG3 on the call last week. They do a great job. But there's just a different level of, it's a big operation. It's something that's putting the Big Ten on full display, and something that we don't talk about much. But excited that they're going to be here, and excited for a great matchup against Michigan.
Anna.
Coach, get to finish the season out at Wrigley. What's it like having the opportunity every season to play at a venue like this? And do you know if these will continue once you move to the new Braun Field?
Not sure if they will continue. Be really honest with you. I really want to acknowledge how appreciative we are to be playing at Wrigley, and for the Cubs partnership. And also, I'm being really intentional with our team. Guys, this is a home game. We're going to be aware of how we're structured in the locker room, what halftime will look like, what the field spacing will look like. We need to talk about those things, but this isn't some outlier. We played here before. Obviously this season we'll play at Wrigley again in the future. Who knows what that looks like? But this is a home game, and this team's been good at home. So it's time for us to lean into that, be excited about that opportunity, and honestly, not hype it up more than just the fact that it's an opportunity for us to play at home.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, everyone.